Hi, my name is Missy Britt. I'm originally from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm married to Michael Britt, a naval aviator, and we have two little boys, Trace, who's 7, and Drew, who's 3. And I just wanted to start out by telling you a little bit about my background. I was raised in a non-denominational, charismatic church. My dad was also a naval officer, and I had an older sister, a younger brother, a picture perfect family. We were deeply involved in the church, and my dad would go on long deployments, but when he was home, he was very present and active in our lives. He was involved in the church as well. My mom taught Sunday school and was in the church choir, and everything was perfect. When my father was 38 years old, he came down with a very rare and aggressive type of cancer and died within 2.5 months. At this point, my mother's faith was just shaken to the core, and she found herself unable to go to church anymore, and she questioned God and her faith. And so therefore, as children, we were lost as well and didn't really go to church anymore and didn't really pray anymore, didn't mention God at home, and religion was kind of over for our family at that point. Fast forward 10 years, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, Michael, who is also a military officer. And he was raised in the Catholic Church, but like me, wasn't really attending church at the time. So when I had my first son, Trace, is when I really felt like there was a God, for sure. There's no way that this human being could have come from accident. And the love that I had for him was so deep, and it just made me really aware of God's existence. So I decided to put him in a preschool that was faith-based, even though we still weren't attending church, and he got to know a little bit about God at the time. And 4 short years later, we welcomed our second son, Drew, into our family, and shortly thereafter, we were stationed in Pensacola. And that's where I met one of my very best friends, Heather Lynn, and her husband was in the same squadron as my husband, and she attended PBUMC and just loved it. She introduced me to her neighborhood Bible study, and just becoming a part of that community really brought me to a deeper faith with God. And after some church shopping myself, she introduced me to PBUMC. I decided to go along to church with Heather, and I found myself very moved by Darren's sermon that day. My sons both had a wonderful time at children's church and in the nursery, and so I started coming back, and my son got involved in the children's choir program, and just, even though he was introverted, kind of came out of his shell. And as my faith grew, I realized how important it was to follow what Jesus preached, which was to worship together and love one another, and also give back to the community. So that's where I was really inspired through our church ministries. I was inspired by the food pantry, the Redemption Store, the Grumpy Old Men, and all of the other ministries that we give back to, which made me feel moved to give more than I was previously giving. Just as in Deuteronomy 12:5-6, it says, "But you shall seek the place where the Lord your God chooses, out of all of your tribes, to put his name for his habitation, and there you shall go. There you shall take your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, the heave offerings of your hand, your vowed offerings, your free-willed offerings, and the firstlings of your herds and flocks." And so just as I felt moved to give more to the church, I also felt it was time for me to give my life over to God through baptism. And so I was happy to, along with my children, join PBUMC a couple of weeks ago and join this journey with you all. God bless.